My name is Ted, and I have been married for the past 15 years to Kathy, who is 40 years old. My kid, who is 10 years old, has a stay-at-home mother, Kathy, while I work as an investment banker. After 3 years of dating, we were married 15 years ago. At our town's church, I got to know Kathy. I had recently arrived here for my new work as an investment banker, and it was a bright Sunday morning. Being in a new town and not knowing anyone made me feel a little uncomfortable, but then I met Kathy. She was seated a few seats in front of me, and her pleasant grin prompted me to strike up a conversation. I approached her after the church service, and we struck up a conversation. After we grew close, we began going on dates. We had a wonderful relationship, and 3 years later I proposed to Kathy, to which she replied yes. Kathy used to work, but we agreed that she should quit when we learned she was expecting a kid so she could take care of herself and prepare for our arrival. Though it was a significant choice, we were pleased with it. After becoming a stay-at-home mother, Kathy looked after our family well. Kathy began putting on a little more weight over time. It came gradually as she concentrated on raising our kid and providing for our family. We all liked the delectable meals that she prepared. She became aware of her clothing becoming tighter and her general lack of health over time. Kathy used to cry whenever she was in front of a mirror. I questioned her about what had occurred. She instructed me to look at her after going crazy and taking off all of her clothes. She no longer likes herself as she has begun to develop in all directions. She only needs to start exercising, that's all. She first appeared unsure, but eventually gave in and signed up for a nearby gym. There, she also made several pals. Kathy started receiving pressure from some of her gym buddies to post about her weight reduction success on social media, especially Instagram. They think that by showing off her achievements, Kathy would become more well-known and attract attention. Kathy wasn't sure about this plan at first. She didn't feel comfortable discussing her story with the public because she had always been a private person. But her gym buddies, persistent convinced her otherwise. Eventually, she gave in to the pressure from her peers and made the decision to set up a public Instagram account. Kathy began sharing images and videos of her exercises, as well as snapshots of her daily activities and before and after shots. People were noticing her everywhere. Her videos were starting to contain some quite offensive language. While some used to leave positive remarks, others would just want to make comments on her appearance. I was overcome with jealousy and rage. I attempted to discuss the same thing with Kathy, but she shut me down, telling me not to worry about the hurtful remarks. I went on to add that I also wanted to visit the gym. Because of her encouragement, we began going to the gym together. I had to go to the office, so we had to adjust our timetable. Thus, it was early in the morning. The gym used to be nearly empty because the majority of its patrons were wealthy women who arrived by 10 a.m. Every day, Kathy and I would go together to the gym, which was now nearly deserted, and began recording videos of herself exercising. Her camera angles used to occasionally bother me. She was the first thing the audience would see, yet I could still feel her in most of the angles. I did discuss Kathy's peculiar camera angles with her, but she responded that these are the professional viewpoints, and they receive more views. I informed her that I don't like it when people make jokes about my wife's behind. She simply shrugged and urged me not to feel envious. That day, I didn't say anything to her. I didn't accompany her to the gym the following day. She went by herself. She pretended that everything was all right and made no attempt to make apologies when I got home later in the evening. I was so heartbroken that night that I slept in the guest room instead of my marriage bed for the first time in years. When I woke up the next morning, I realized that Kathy had gone to the gym, and that I was no longer her top concern. I made an effort to discuss our connection with her later that evening. Things did not go smoothly. We had a heated disagreement in the end. My argument was straightforward. I don't think it's appropriate for a 40-year-old woman to flaunt her curves online. I informed her that our son will be embarrassed by her films because she is a mother of a child. She dismissed all of my reasons, saying that I was envious of her success and didn't want to see her happy. Now that I was mad, I had no desire to dispute. I stormed into the guest room and shut the door. During my coffee break at work the next day, I inadvertently checked my wife's Instagram account on my phone. Horrifying is what I witnessed. I had her whole back exposed when she performed pull-ups in the gym. Other than her tights, she had nothing on. The remarks were offensive, and I was furious. When I phoned her, she didn't pick up. She wasn't home when I got there. She informed me that my wife had gone at lunchtime and would return late at night, leaving my son in the care of a babysitter. I was feeling deceived, and my desire to keep my marriage intact was quickly fading. She returned that evening at 11 p.m. She was wearing a sparkly short dress and was really drunk when she came in. I'd never seen her dressed like this. I yelled at her, telling her to change her ways or else we would have to part ways. She simply lifted her hand in a trance and urged me to stop talking. She staggered into the bedroom and closed her eyes. I approached her early the following morning before she left for the gym. She was absent from the house that evening, so I questioned her about the video. She informed me that because she has become a fitness star, people need to see her figure in order to be motivated. I took up the phone and showed her the offensive remarks that had been left on her post. I clarified that one need not take off their clothing to inspire others. I informed her that kids may use social media, that our son's peers may be seeing these remarks, and that this will make him a target for trolls. She dismissed my worries and just turned to go, claiming that she was running late for her live meeting with her fans. I went to the gym and changed in the changing room after paying for my subscription. I heard someone observing my wife on the phone there in one of the cabins. I realized that the man was tinkering with his ding-dong when I heard some groans. I had finished. I contacted my workplace and took the day off after leaving the gym and heading straight home. I couldn't handle it for the day. I informed Kathy when she got home that she had to decide between her family and her explicit movies. She simply entered the bedroom and shut the door without saying anything to me. I headed over to the office. But from here on out, the day was going to go really bad. When I got back home, the babysitter was there. She walked out after I gave her the money. That night I made an effort to spend some time with my kid. We got on his PlayStation and started playing. My kid asked me what his OnlyFans were while he was playing. Startled, I questioned him about his motivation for wanting to know. He claimed that some of the older students at his school were making fun of his mother for being an OnlyFan. My feelings completely collapsed. I was unable to distinguish between feeling surprised, furious, or depressed. For a little while, all I could see or hear was darkness. My kid was begging me to answer the door as I regained consciousness, and the doorbell began ringing. Like a walking zombie, I approached the door and looked through it at my wife. She proceeded directly to the bedroom once I opened the door. I stayed silent with her. I went on OnlyFans that evening and paid to watch my wife in her underwear. I went to a lawyer the next morning and requested him to file for divorce. It was more than I could handle. I informed the attorney that because of the nature of my wife's profession, I would maintain custody of my child. The attorney requested that I leave the house right away and, if at all possible, take a little trip with my kid. I followed suit. I went on a lengthy drive with my kid. I texted my wife to let her know that my kid and I would be returning the following week after a lengthy travel. I spent a lovely week with my son, getting away from the poisonous environment my wife had created. We didn't go back to our residence when we got back. We moved into a brand new apartment I rented close to my son's school. Even though I lived a little distance from my job, I decided to work from home because I knew I would be raising a single child. My wife lost it when my lawyer served her. She phoned me first, then began to yell at me. She said that I never spoke with her about this. She chose her career, I told her, and I did ask her to make a decision. She began berating me and called me derogatory things. I simply cut her off on the phone and blocked her. My son needs to avoid individuals who come and talk about his mother, I told him. I realize he must deal with things on his own, but he seemed a little distressed. After our divorce was finalized, I had to sell our home to cover Kathy's costs. I decided against dealing with her on a monthly basis and instead requested a one-time payout. My son was granted custody to me. For that, I did pay my wife out of court. It's just my son and I now. I'm confident that I'll be able to purchase a new home and move out of our rental property very soon. 1 year has passed after my divorce from my wife, and I recently purchased a new home. My wife is not doing well in the interim. I saw her and a couple other women on a podcast a few days ago. She stated in that podcast that she joined OnlyFans with the goal of inspiring other women and promoting health. She is currently a full-time model for OnlyFans. Why strip off for that when there are other methods to motivate people? The host questioned her. The host accused her of doing it because she desired the money and the attention. The host inquired as to whether her participation on OnlyFans contributed to her divorce. Kathy broke down in tears and declared she had no regrets about what she had done. She aspired to inspire and serve as an inspiration to others. Kathy was insane and deluded, and I laughed at her. In response to the host's question about if she missed her family, she stated that she did and claimed that they had abandoned her. I was upset, but I eventually became calm. Because I didn't want to be forced to consider Kathy. That path was blocked to me. I was taken aback when Kathy contacted me a few days later since she had called from a different number. She inquired about my well-being before revealing her desire to make amends and return. She should stay away from me and my son, I warned her. I made it very plain that I wouldn't tolerate her being around my son, and that her being on OnlyFans is a curse. She promised to be a nice wife and to leave all of that behind. I emphasized to her that everything posted online remains there indefinitely. Her decisions will always follow her, and being close to her will bring evil into my son's life. It would be best for her to avoid further contact. I ended the call. Do you love me? She questioned me when she contacted me again, this time from a new number. Despite my astonishment, I maintained my composure and said, there was a time when I loved her, and as of right now she has no place in my life or in my heart. It's finished between us, so please stop calling, I gently pleaded. And she must withdraw from our life by taking a step back. I couldn't stop wondering why she would contact me a year after we broke up. Women on OnlyFans are, as you can see, like perishable things. There is a date on which they expire. It could be enjoyable to see a 40-year-old lady on OnlyFans for the first time, but it won't be the same as watching a 20-year-old. Kathy failed to realize that she was already past her peak, and that this is not the ideal moment to launch a skin show-focused career. The adoration and barrage of compliments will only persist as long as you can look fantastic in nothing at all. You're done when you're elderly. It's finished. It isn't a career that lasts long. As long as it lasted, Kathy could have made some money. But I'm not sure how much she made in the last year and how much she will have in her lifetime. She is obviously done with her work and is aware that her financial situation would soon collapse. It is logical. I stopped thinking and went out for pizza with my kid. Since I make decent money, I do receive a lot of attention from women. And a few others have caught me enjoying myself with my son. I avoid ladies because I'm not ready for a relationship and because my son comes first. Please feel free to express your opinions in the space provided for comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.